In Performa Plus, if we want to add a preferred equity investment component, first we need to go back into the setup screen and make sure under investors that the investors that we want to use are already loaded. If they're not, we simply add additional investors at the very beginning and populate the data that identifies the investors that we're to use. From this point, we go back into projects. I'm using this particular project, multi-tenant MOB, as my sample. I press on the details. It brings up the project center. Now you'll notice on the preferred equity side, everything is populated as 0 because at this point we don't have any preferred equity investors. So now I go back into the capital stack. I tab on preferred equity and I determine how much of my equity I want to add as preferred. So I start at the preferred equity percentage, and in this case, let's add 10%. The required return I've agreed will be 9% to my investors, and then I'm going to decide that I'm going to use 20 units each for my individual investment of $15,011. I then save. I see that it's successful. Now I want to identify the particular investors that are going to have a component of the preferred equity. So I go back into my Manage My Preferred Investors. I add, and here I look up the organization, and let's use Jeff Jackson. Jeff wants 10 units each, and then I add Jeff to have 10 units. And then at this point, we want to add yet another preferred investor for the other 10 units. So let's pull up again, and Bill would like the remaining 10 units. And then I add Bill. At this point, you see that the preferred investors are listed. Bill Stenzel, 10 units, which amounts to 50%. At $150,110, and the same for Jeff Jackson, 10 units at 50%. Now I save. I see that it's successful. And if I look over here to the right side, it's already populated 10% of my preferred equity at $300,225. I then go back up into my project center and notice that it starts to populate my preferred equity. To be safe, I'm going to save and recalculate. And now all the adjusting figures that I've previously used are now recalculated using this additional preferred equity capital stack mix. If at any time we decide to use more or less, we simply go back into the capital stack and rinse and repeat.